Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, June 4th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today we have a number of feasts, as always. In a particular way, we're going to be spending a lot of time in Italy, and then we will also jump down to, looks like, Argentina and also Poland. So to start us off, we have Our Lady of the Hill, or mountain. I guess it depends on where you're from, if you consider it a hill or a mountain. So the sanctuary of the Sacred Hill at Varese in Lombardy, Italy, is said to have its origin in a chapel built there to commemorate Our Lady's appearing to Saint Ambrose of Milan during the late 4th century. As you remember, Saint Ambrose was known for his work converting Saint Augustine, but he's also an early father of the church and fought heroically here against the Arian heresy, right? So, St. Ambrose was also a great proponent of Mary, the Mother of God. It is believed, according to tradition, that the Blessed Virgin appeared to St. Ambrose during the time of the Arian conflict. And the saint built that first chapel, Our Lady of the Hill, in that place at the request of the Mother of God. But also in thanksgiving for St. Ambrose being able to theologically refute Arianism. So the sanctuary grew in popularity, especially after a convent of Augustinian nuns was established in the 15th century. And the principal shrine is the Church of the Immaculate Conception, with chapels of the mysteries of the Rosaries, right? So again, right now there's the main church, which is the Sacro Monte di Varese, Our Lady of the Hill, or the Sacred Mount of Varese. And there's a total of 14 chapels located there that were built between the years 1604 and 1623, right? Then we're going to jump over to Pavia in Lombardy, Italy, where they celebrate Madonna del Bocco in Casanova Sinistra, Pavia. So we're told that on June 4th, so that's today, 1947, at the tender age of 7, Angela Volpini was sitting on the ground making bouquets while herding cattle in a remote wooded area when she felt someone lift her up from behind. She turned around to see a sweetly beautiful stranger who said, "I have come to teach you the way of happiness on earth." Angela identified the visitor as Our Lady and saw her again on the same spot on the 4th of each month until June 4th, 1956. So that's a number of years there, almost a decade. In 1957, the bishop authorized a church at the apparition site of Il Bocco with a space for communal activities. Above the altar, you'll find a painting of Our Lady as Angela saw her in a white veil, blue mantle, and pink robe with a rosary over her right arm and her hands gesturing delicately as if in communication. Right. The shrine celebrates the apparition anniversary on June 2nd. We're told also that they celebrate in Argentina, in Hurlingham, Buenos Aires, Argentina. They celebrate Virgen Maria Sembradora, right? The Virgin Mary, the planter, right? Who's housed in the parish of San Carlos Borromeo in Hurlingham, Buenos Aires. They begin each year a novena on May 25th, and it ends on June 4th when they carry the statue out in procession. Likewise, today they also celebrate Madonna del Divino Amore, like Our Lady of Divine Love, in the Church of St. Ignatius in Rome. So today they recall when Pope Pius XII consecrated the city of Rome to Our Lady. And he did so in the Church of St. Ignatius, in front of the miraculous image of Madonna del Divino Amore, Our Lady of Divine Love, which had been taken away from its shrine in Castel di Leva because of the war, right? We're talking, the consecration of the city of Rome took place on June 4th, 1944. So a terrible moment in the war. The Romans had always had a tender devotion to Our Lady of Divine Love. And on the occasion of the Jubilee year of 2000, Pope St. John Paul II renewed that consecration. Oh, no, sorry. Yes, he consecrated a new, modern, and great shrine. But it's a particular, they say, like everything in Rome is like a Marian shrine, but the Shrine of Divine Love is a very particular sign of devotion of the Romans to Our Lady. We're also told that today there were a number of Marian images in Poland that were crowned. And so now I'm going to go through and butcher all these names. So we have Matka Boska Laufska, Nowe Miasto Lubowickie, Nowe Miasto in Poland, crowned in 1752. Matka Boska Pienka Miloszki Lomsa Blessed Mother of Beautiful Love. The icon was crowned in 1991 by Pope St. John Paul II. Also, Blessed Mother of Humility in Silesia, Poland. It was crowned in the 1400s. It was built in the 1400s, crowned in the year 2000. Likewise, Mata Boska Boga in Katowice, Silesia, Poland. Again, an image from the 1400s, but crowned in the year 2000. That's very interesting, too, because this the idea of crowning Mary can be traced back to the middle of the 12th century, right? There's English sculptures, for instance, where we see Christ crowning Mary after she's assumed into heaven. But the idea of crowning a sculpture or image of Mary is much older. And it seems that Pope Gregory III, who reigned gloriously from 731 to 741, donated a golden diadem to crown a holy image located near St. Peter's, right? Which represents not only Mary, but also Christ and the other saints. But this is a very long and beautiful transition, right? And so that's what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on June 4th. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with Meditation 76, the Burial and Resurrection of Mary. And now we start point 3, the Resurrection. Incorruption was still too little for the definitive triumph of our Heavenly Mother. The real conclusion could be nothing less than a new life in a glorious resurrection, a new immortality communicated by her soul to her body, thus constituting a perfectly Christ-like life which would never know death. It has been said that Mary is the beginning of Christ. Therefore, it is impossible to separate the mother from her son. Hence it follows, as a natural consequence, that Christ must put an end to that state of things which, so to say, hindered the relations between Jesus and Mary. They were separated from each other, and so it was imperative that Mary should meet him as soon as possible. Jesus and Mary must meet again in heaven, since they had lived so closely united here on earth. Moreover, the body of our Heavenly Mother was not an occasion of sin for her as ours is. It knew no disorderly passions. It experienced no rebellion against the Spirit. All was harmonious. It was an orderly and perfect ensemble, where the body was ever in obedience to the soul of Mary. Her pure flesh was always in perfect submission to that divinized spirit of Mary. It was then just that they should not be estranged from each other, but rather, as a reward of that submission, it was fitting that God should join them together so that they should keep on serving and praising God in their continued union and harmony. Imagine then the happy instant in which, through the virtue and omnipotence of her divine Son, the body of Our Lady received from her soul a new life, and rose glorious and immortal, scoring a victory over the sepulchre. How joyful would that most holy body appear on finding itself inseparably united to that most holy soul! How great would its beauty be if Mary was always, even in her earthly life, so beautiful! Contemplate the wonder of the apostles when, early in the morning, they went to visit the sepulchre, and found there was only a sweet scent left behind by the risen body. How this would recall the remembrance of the resurrection of Christ. How they would rejoice on seeing that also Christ's mother had risen. Offer your congratulations to the divine Son and to his mother. Beg again for a share in that inseparable and eternal union. Promise that you will never be torn from them, neither by sufferings nor by joys, neither in struggle nor in triumph. For today's reading from the Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we read the conclusion of chapter 11, entitled Heart of Mary, World of Wonders. In conclusion, if we were to recount everything written by the doctors of the Church, and all that God has caused to become known through his saints, concerning the privileges, excellence, and perfection of Our Lady, it would fill an almost countless number of large volumes. Mother most admirable, what great and glorious things have been said, thought, and written in praise of you and of your loving heart. To me it seems incontestable that your heart is the center of all these wonders, having drawn down the munificence of the Most High by its humility, purity, and love. That is why I regard, hail, and honor the virginal heart under so many titles and symbols. Infinite and everlasting praise be to God, the sovereign of all hearts, for having filled your admirable heart with such miracles of wonder and grace. O Queen of my heart, I have testified many times already, but I shall repeat thousands of times again, imploring all the inhabitants of heaven to repeat with me on my behalf, that all sublime prerogatives are yours, And if the least of thy perfections were wanting, and it could be given you by the complete destruction of myself, I should consent to it with all my heart.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.